part, a super underrated part of OpenAI's new image generation API is the mask feature. This lets you specify which part of the reference image you're uploading should be edited and allow the other parts of the image to remain unchanged. So in this video, I'm gonna overview the docs of this feature, walk you through a real app I built using the mask feature on OpenAI's image API to allow you to put furniture in your house wherever you want, and then talk about some future use cases you can use this API in to start building today for your SaaS. What's up, guys? I'm Matt. I cover everything in AI news and share updates on my personal projects. So if that interests you, make sure you subscribe. All right, so here we are in the image generation docs. In my last video, I already gave a demo on the basic edit feature using this API. We put ourselves on models for clothing products, so that was super cool. Make sure you check that out. In this example, they used putting together parts of a bath basket to make a product placement. Very cool. And what we're going to be using is the mask here. So as they say on your website, you can provide a mask to indicate where the image should be edited. The transparent areas of the mask will be replaced, while the filled in areas will be left unchanged. So that's exactly what they want, and they give us an example here. It's the exact same as the simple edit API call, except you're going to want to pass in this mask parameter. Also worth noting that whichever the first image is in this image array of images, that's the one that's going to be used as the reference photo. So you can see in this example, they have a patio, indoor patio here. That's the first image in the images array up here. Then for the mask, they take that same image but erase part of it where they want the flamingo. And then what they do is, say they want the flamingo via the prompt. What we're going to do in our app is actually give another image of what we want placed in the mask area as part of the images array. And then as you can see in the output, the flamingo is there and the rest of the patio is largely unchanged. So you can imagine, had they not used this mask feature, just given this first photo and said add a flamingo, it could have, made it an outdoor patio, changed a lot of the color walls. You wouldn't have been able to exactly specify where you want the object placed. So a lot of benefits in this feature, underrated, hidden, not used enough. Some requirements here they'll list, like it has to be a square and, well, it doesn't have to be a square, but there's some limitations on the dimensions you can use. The sizes, the quality options, and the format, and some notes on transparency, but I'll cover all this in the demo app. So let us hop in. So here's the app I built, Apartment AI. Upload a photo of your room and see how the furniture would look in any specific location. So I'll walk you through the app and then I'll take you through the code. So we'll first upload an image of our apartment. Very standard here. Then we're gonna pick the furniture we want. Let's say we want this floor plan. Save us some money, get the cheapest option. Now we wanna erase part of the original image we uploaded, similar to that example they gave where they wanna put the flamingo. We wanna erase where we want the plant. This was the hardest part of this app to build, but let's say we want it in this corner here. So I'll just draw a beautiful rectangle, make sure we erase all of it, and then complete the mask. While debugging this, I want to actually make sure it was getting erased, so I overlaid this on a red background right here, so we can see the reds popping in there. We know it's erased. Awesome. And then when we click generate, it takes about a minute. These OpenAI calls, not the fastest, but let's see the result. All right, and here's our finished image. It didn't place it exactly where I wanted to. It actually understood there was a layer to this coffee table and put it on the coffee table. But it got the product super well from the reference image we used for the plant. And if you compare this apartment to this apartment looks nearly identical. You'll notice there are some subtle differences. It's not perfect preservation of the non-erased area. For instance, if you look at this couch, pretty wriggly there, but made it different. Wriggles here. But had we, again, not used a mask feature, the apartment would have been way more different. So we can see the preservation of the reference image preserved with the mask feature. So let me walk you through the code. There's the endpoint, but here is our Next.js application. So we have our top component here where we upload, or we have the modal where the user can upload their image. And then we have the section where they can select their furniture. Once the original room is updated, we just have these as states, as file. Yeah, the furniture selector, pretty basic. We have the hard-coded furniture. Same thing, once they select one, we store that in state as a file. And then this was the hardest part, the canvas editor to actually erase the image. So we pass in the original image they uploaded, bring it to the canvas. We set up our eraser when the image is uploaded. We have some coordinates. We handle what happens when the user clicks on it to actually erase. What happens when they move, what happens when they click clear on the buttons at the bottom. That was just a little extra sauce I put on. And then once they handle complete, we actually have to, turn in what they drew on into another image that can be passed to the OpenAI endpoint. And of course, once they click generate at the bottom, right here, we put the images in the file types we want. Again, we have the original image, the mask image, its own parameter, and then the image of the furniture in the same array as the room image, but it's going to use, again, the first one as the image to be compared to the mask. And then we make a post request to our own endpoint. So let's walk through that, see how that works. Again, all this code will be public on my GitHub for you to use as a reference to steal or do whatever you want. So we get the three things as file types, validate they're inputted, format the array for OpenAPI, format the mask image, some console log I had for debugging. Then my prompt was using your image masking functionality, give me back the image of the apartment, first photo in the images array, with the furniture, the second photo in the images array, inserted into the image. And then we use the GPT-1 model. We pass the original apartment and furniture image here, our prompts, our mask image, request it back in a big square and ask for high quality. And then that gets returned as B64 JSON. And then back in our application, we get the response, await the JSON method on it, get the data, set the generated image as the image data. Then if you follow this down here, once we have it, we display it in an image component. So not too difficult once you figure out how to convert the images into the types that OpenAI wants in their API. And also the erasing was a bit tricky, but I feel I nailed it in this application, so feel free to use it as a reference. Just to give one more demo of the application, let's try it with another piece of furniture. So the same beautiful apartment. Let's take the Mona Lisa. Only $400 to steal. Let's hang it up here. Super cool with the masking image. Again, it saves you from even like prompting, like instead of me having to say, put it on that back wall between the windows. just know how to draw on it. It instructs the API better, and it's just easier. Complete that mask. Cool. Click generate, and I'll see y'all in 60 seconds. All right, here's the final result. It did make the painting huge, but it got it in the right location we wanted, and largely the rest of the apartment is unchanged. So another great result, another good demo. And I was thinking, this is a pretty good use case I can see. I know apps like this already exist, but what other ideas could you guys steal to use this masking API in your own application? Whether you're a seasoned builder or someone looking to get inspired to build your first application. So I wrote down some ideas. One that frequently comes up when I talk to GPT is tattoo placement preview, where you could upload a picture of your arm or leg, wherever you want to tattoo, mask the area you want your tattoo on, upload an image reference of your tattoo, see exactly where it is, where you want it. I know it's a big decision, so something you would definitely benefit from having a preview of. You can imagine you could shove this in an iOS app for direct to consumer. Skincare or cosmetic visualizer, highlight the area of the face, upload reference products of what your skincare or makeup does, and see it exactly where you want on the person's or model's body. It's a good idea. A billboard poster preview, let's say you already have your ad and then you want it somewhere in a city. You could highlight where exactly the billboard could hypothetically be. Maybe not your billboard, maybe you're an ad agency and you want to have this as part of your pitch deck to sell billboards. That'd be a good way to have a mock-up to see their ad in action. Car customizer, pretty simple. I want to update my rims, I want to tint my windows. You can mask the area of the car you want changed, give reference photos of what you're actually going to put on, see it. That's a great use case. I can see going crazy viral. And also, food plating for, let's say you're a restaurant and you say, hey, here is my food, but I don't have a studio photographer in-house. Here are other studio lighting shots I want, put my food on there. Bang, you have stuff for your website instantaneously. So I hope these ideas inspire you. I hope the demo was a good demonstration of this feature. Let me know what you're building with this mask feature in the OpenAI video. Again, I have a second video already made covering the basic functionality of this, putting myself as a clothing model online. So also I'll link the documentation and the GitHub repo for you to use as a reference if you get stuck while building. So thank you again. Like the video if you learned anything, and subscribe to stay up to date on future AI news. Thanks.